Yo, Aquaman chillin' with the fishes.
Think you're smarter than a foot?
Foot with your physics. It's low, you're damn right. Brains overflowing. Plus, let's be honest, that charisma showing. And you're damn sexy with that fluffy white hair. Oh, wait a minute, hold up, that's a CC wig, I swear. CC's your best shit. DC's like Fox, you tricking all the landlubbers with your visual coup.
You see my business, telecom, science galore, but your jokes straight from the gutter's dirty floor. Got a sharp mind and a wicked tongue, making us laugh till our stomachs hung. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Dan's at the helm, gonna brighten up our day. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. With Dan at the wheel, we're happily led astray. Drink up me hearties, yo ho.
A home when Mike ditched us in the lurch. You're the architect of awesome, standing tall as a church. Oh, the ladies are dying to see you in your uniform, sailor. Got 'em weak in the knees, a scientific bailer.
And the boys are green with envy, a jealous verdant hue. Cause you're packing brains and humor, it's undeniably true. You see my business, telecom, science galore, but your jokes straight from the gutter's dirty floor. Got a sharp mind and a wicked tongue, making us laugh till our stomachs hung. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Dan's at the helm, gonna brighten up our day. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. With Dan at the wheel, we're happily led astray. Drink up me hearties, yo ho.
You coined our name, Zoo Crew, a motley, horny team. With you as our captain, we're weathering every stream.
From understanding radio waves to sinking pints of beer,
You're the best damn zookeeper, and crazy as fuck, oh dear. Oh!
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Dan's at the helm, gonna brighten up our day. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. With Dan at the wheel, we're happily led astray. Drink up me hearties, yo ho.
We're rinsing falling seas, Dan. Don't spit another pun. And remember that CC wig makes you #1. Zoo Crew forever, drink to the foam.
Anchors away.
Happy voyage, Dan, until we meet again another day.
Yo ho, a pirate typhoon.
They gave me boots and a record at home. Revelry so loud it could wake a stone. A patch on my chest, a name on my shirt. But no one warned me about the mud and the dirt. Hurry up, wait, that's the game we play. Lost my soul to the chow line yesterday. Oh, Camo confessions, our sins in disguise. Drunk on bad choices, hungover on lies. Acronyms flying like shrapnel in air. Life's a grenade. Pull the pin if you dare. PT had on my legs, beg for peace. The sergeant's voice is the devil's release. Told me it's discipline, told me it's pride, but it feels like a hangover on a long ass ride. Push-ups and fuck you dare. Oh, Camo confessions, our sins in disguise, drunk on bad choices, hungover on lies, acronym flying like shrapnel in air. Life's a grenade, pull the pin if you dare.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Unfornicated. It is Veterans Day here in the U.S. We have two holidays specifically for veterans. We have Memorial Day, which is our solemn holiday, similar to Remembrance Day in the U.K. and Canada, where we remember the dead, those who paid the ultimate price to keep our freedoms alive. Today, on the other hand, is about Veterans Day. Veterans Day is different. It's a day that's usually spent with other veterans in a bar, telling stories, shooting the shit, giving each other shit, and otherwise doing what they do best. I guess that's the only way you can really say it. For those who have served, they know that there's a sibling rivalry between the branches. I actually had to include the Coast Guard in my thumbnail because I completely forgot. Sorry, Coasties. My apologies. Yeah, so tonight is, it's not going to be a long stream. Now, I know I say that all the time. I know, but this time it's true. We have a little bit of a double feature tonight. Toon has asked me to join him on Tuesday tonight as we review that Shiva call from last Saturday. So hopefully I'll see you guys all over there later because that will be fun. But in the meantime, what are we doing today? This stream right now, here's what we're doing. I'm opening it up. If you're a veteran who has served and you want to come out and hang out and tell your own stories, because Chad is tired of hearing my stories, by all means, hit the Discord link, join the Discord, send me a message, and we'll put you up on stage. And you're welcome. Come tell your stories. Come enjoy the camaraderie that we miss because of bureaucracy. We definitely don't. There are a few things that has occurred, let's say over the last 24, 48 hours. I make it a point of not being political in my commentary on this channel because it's about science now. However, I will say this. Jon Stewart's one of my favorite people of all time because he does not give, well, let's put it this way. He gives zero fucks about what side you're on, and he will flambe anybody who is basically being an asshole. And the great thing about Jon Stewart is he's gone out of his way for veteran causes. So I'm utmost appreciative of him. So last night he had a special where he had two combat veterans who are elected officials in the House of Republican representatives in the U.S. And he had them on, and they had a nice little discussion about things. And there's a few things that were said that I think, especially in the U.S., would hit home. And it has to do a lot with things like the VA and health benefits. It has to do a lot with, the camaraderie. It has a lot to do with the type of people we are, the type of people it takes to sign your name on a piece of paper. And that basically says you are willing to give everything you have up into your life for a cause. a paycheck, GI benefits, take your pick, whatever motivated you. Now, I want to go on record of saying it does not matter if you're in a combat zone like me or you were never in a combat zone. Doesn't matter. As far as I'm concerned, you are a brother or sister in arms, regardless, because you signed that paper, whether it was out of high school, out of college, or forced by a judge. The same applies across the board because we don't have a choice on where we go. We sign up, we get told to go to the one place, and we may be told to go to 3 or 4 other places in the course of one enlistment. And that's just in 4 years. And if you expand upon that, like in the officer corps, or if you're a lifer and you end up serving 20 years, you spent more time traversing the globe than you probably did in the US during that time, which makes having families and what we would call a regular normal life or anything else impossible or damn near impossible. But there are quite a few different things that I want to talk about too and stuff like that today. But primarily, I want other people to come on up and share their stories. I want us to have our virtual bar where we are having a few drinks, a few libations. We put our feet up and, have some good natured ribbing, give each other some shit and, tell the stories that maybe not everyone has heard because it's enjoyable. So part of today, here's what we're going to do. So we're going to have the stories and everything else. So as people come on, they're welcome to join anytime. Come on up. Even if you weren't in the service and you have stories from like your parents or grandparents, by all means, those can be shared as well. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to play a little Camo Roulette. Now, in the US, camo patterns has changed in, let's say, quite a few times over the last 30 to 50 years. But we're going to go ahead and go through them and show them all. And I'm sure I don't have all of them. But that's why I require some of you to point it out to me. Now, when I was in, we had some, well, at the time we thought were atrocious camo patterns. However, as I've gotten older and I've seen some of the other options, I guess you could say, I've come to realize that I kind of like them a little better now. In fact, so much so that my snowboarding jacket now has the same print. What print is that? Well, we'll get to that. The other thing we're going to talk a little bit about transition talk, what it takes to transition from a civilian into the military, and even more so, what it takes to go from the military into the civilian world. What hangups, what landmines do you step on? It's all sorts of convoluted mess. And maybe somewhere, someone watches this, learns something, and they maybe skip that landmine so they don't have to go through it. So call that the public service part of the show. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the shit we carried home. Now, I'm not talking about PTSD and the baggage and everything else. I'm talking about those life lessons we learned in boot camp or officer candidate school that we still do today. Because in those formative years, when you have them hammered over your head repeatedly, some things stick no matter how hard you try to purge them. It's like that memory of like you need bleach for your eyes when you see Mikey's toe and you just can't not unsee it. Those are the lessons I'm talking about. And I have a few of my own. I'll share with them. And my daughter can actually back me up on these because some of them kind of irk her. I'm not going to lie. And then we'll overgo some stuff like some military acronyms, because here's the fun thing about acronyms in the military. They're all pronounceable. And in a way, the acronyms are created in a way to make them pronounceable in certain aspects. But like, what the fuck does all these letters mean? Well, this is where creativity comes in, so to speak. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at tonight. As Joe Black was so helpful to prove out and point out, the thing we're also doing tonight, the actual headliner of the actual message today, is we will be doing the live recourse of all the Unbreakable merch that was sold since Memorial Day. We are going to tally them up. all proceeds that came from those will be donated to the Native American Veteran Association, as well as being matched penny for penny, dollar for dollar, courtesy of yours truly. So in a way to be completely and utterly transparent, we're actually going to go into the store and show you each and every things. Now, here's something else that we need to talk about is I'm going to save that for towards the end of the show, because as Joe says, you have time. So if you go up to the link, find something you like. For instance, we have this. We have the Unbreakable World War I, World War II coffee mug, travel mug. And on the flip side, we have a Code Talkers patch that was designed because they were the code. And this all was derived from the Code Talkers actual stream that we did. So let me get a little caught up here. You guys definitely need to going through all the stuff. Let me get caught up in chat here a little bit. Westside's already is already baiting me. But we'll get back to that. Let's see. I have had family in the military and known a few real life, and was on an astronomy forum that had members on it that served in the armed forces. So never heard a military story ever. I know. See, that's the thing with the military people. We are so closeted. We don't want to share our stories. But you know, it's not a true story unless it starts with, so there we were. That's how everyone starts. Hold on a second. My phone is going obscene crazy. Pardon me for one moment. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. Food's being delivered. So, oh, Michaela's here. Hey, Michaela. Thank you for coming. It's the Make Dan Poor Day. Don't worry. It's Olivia's college fund we're stealing from. Not a big deal. I actually, so some of you guys, if you're on Discord, we have random conversations. I've been talking to Marcus Leach quite a bit over the last couple of days. And what I love about this community is that there's so many different points of view, so many different things that kind of make each of you who you are. And I appreciate every part of that, because like most of us work all day. We don't get out much. And if we do get out, it's like to the same people. And even though it's the same 30, 40, 50 people who are here, you all are so different. I can't keep them all track. So the advantage is that we're going to, like, everything is new to me, learning about everything you guys, talk about. So, so there's a couple other things that I've learned. I sent a song to Michaela I thought she would enjoy, because my daughter somewhat enjoyed it, because it's some of that weird music that we had a long conversation about on Discord, because Michaela seems to be reinforcing the weird music on my daughter. And I love her for it. But at the same time, I wanted to share some weird music back at her. So hopefully she got a chance to see that. Oh, you're doing alert. Oh, okay. So you're one of my mods, but you're lurking. I see how you are, Michaela. You're making Joe do all the work. I get it. All right. So let's see. So let me do the Jon Stewart thing first, because this part's annoying me. Now, if you are in the stream, you want to come on up and start telling some stories, or you guys want me to just hear my stories again, that's what we'll do. But shoot me a message on Discord, or that's your best bet, or tag me. And if someone like Michaela, Joe, or somebody else who has me on Discord can tag me in them, let me know too. But welcome, Zoo Crew, new and old. If you're here, you are already part of the Zoo Crew family. And we welcome you here with open arms, and of course, quite a bit of satire and good-natured shit talking, because that is what this channel is all about. If you happen to learn something while you're here, I'm sorry. It's not intentional. Okay. Just put it over there. I'll grab it afterwards. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not going to eat on stream because I find that rude when people do that. And not to mention, you guys don't want to hear me chew. It's disgusting. And watch me. I get it. So where are we right now? How about we go over to here and let me pull up the right things here. And we're going to zoom in a little bit here. Let's transition this over. All right, this is where we stand as of right now. So before anybody makes any orders, this is where we're standing right at this moment. Big Fish is still early. I'll fuck up the audio at some point. Don't worry about it. Michaela, real quick, we are not doing memberships or super chats yet. We are close. Oh, so close. We are basically 2/3 of the way there, just over 2/3 of the way there. We are up to, shit, I don't even check. 358 subscribers last time I checked. I got an influx of ones from the Shiva experiment of all things. So if you came here from the Shiva experiment call, thank you. This is what our normal sort of banter is like. Pull up a bar stool, enjoy a drink, and let's go from there. So what have we got so far? So far we have basically, and I included my own purchases in this because that's the rules of the game, right? So we had right now for a total, let me get rid of this real quick. Let's just delete this row. There we go. We are up to $69.34. Now, there's no other orders through the rest of the day or the rest of the night. So be it. But the grand total is going to be rounded up to $150, and I will do that live on stream towards the end of the show, so you guys can see me follow through with my promises. Here's the advantage to this. I'm going to check the bank, so we might be able to up that a little bit. So who are we going to be donating this to? Well, let's have a quick conversation real quick. Welcome to the Native Americans Veterans Assistance, which is part of the Native American Veterans Organization. So the assistance is basically success through partnership. They have partnerships at various reservations throughout the country. They are basically out of Pine Bluff, South Dakota. And they primarily just do the things that should be done. They go out and care for veterans who are on bad times. They go out to help them and do everything from clean a house to build a house. That's just the way it is. It's veterans helping veterans. So, now, just as a side, here's what we got. We have 3 travel mugs that were bought. We have 3 20-ounce coffee cannons that were bought. By the way, those coffee cannons, great to be used. They hold 20 ounces of caffeine. My personal favorite. We had 2 relaxed teas and 2 fitted teas that were sold, so a total of $40.89. Now, actually, I think I may have been off on some of those numbers. Yeah, I was off on some of those numbers. Okay. Emma, who also ordered a 20-ounce coffee mug, also made a donation to the NAVA herself and then sent me the screenshot. I'm going to match that because she asked if I would, and I said yes. So I'm going to do that. So that's where we stand now. So I would say, as of right now, it is almost 6 p.m. You have 1 hour to make an order through there. And if you make an order, do me a favor, tag me in it so I can go check because I have the tab open right here. Now, if you guys don't trust me, and I'm not saying you should always do your own research. People should always have receipts. That's how we roll here in Unfornicated, right? Cool. So let's go to this. No one bought a hoodie. I've been meaning to. Forgot. My bad. Fitted tee, we have 2 sold. See it right here, 2 sold. Back here, let me just make this a little better. Okay. Women's tees, none. Relaxed tees, we have 2 right here. And the Code Talkers mug, we have 3 sold. And this also shows you the profit down here if you want to see that. Make sure my numbers add up. There were no black edition that were ordered. To be honest, I kind of don't blame you. The white looks better as far as I'm concerned, but that's just me. Personal preferences. And unfortunately, the travel mug only comes in one color, which is white, and we sold 3 of those. So it says I made $250 per sale. They recently dropped the price. If we go back, originally, or I'm sorry, they upped the price. So originally, I was making $365 per. I'm sorry, $605 per. So I kept the $605 because that's what happens. Wait, was it the $605? Was this one? Hold on. Yeah, it was $605 originally, and then they upped the price, unfortunately. So you guys shouldn't bear the brunt of that. That should be on me. So, hacking song. Okay, I'm sorry. No, we can't do memberships. Let's see. Shouldn't mention my sub count. Yeah, CSA. I mean, look, you were giving Toronto updates of the scores just to irk me, and you've been flaunting the sub count. I'm kidding. He hasn't. But I've been jumping up ahead. Oh, and here's the great thing. As of the Shiva call, I believe we are right at the threshold of the watch hours needed. So tonight we'll put us over the watch hours. So we are to the 3 steps there. Now we just need the subs, and that's on me. I should be making more content, and I haven't because I've been working on the Shiva experiment. At my birthday, been working on some work. It's the end of the year for us. It's been freaking, I can't get out of my own way, it seems like. I can't find time to do things. And then if I do have time, my ass has been on the couch. I admit it. Been a little lazy. But it happens. What can I say? So that's where we stand right now. So if we get any more tonight, great. If not, that's what will be donated going forward. So let's talk real quick about John's story. This was, so these are 2 gentlemen who are combat vets who are in the House of Representatives. We have Chris DeLuzio, who's from the Pittsburgh area. He was Navy. And we also have Pat Ryan, who was Army, who actually represents my district here in New York. And he had them on to have this conversation about Veterans Day and what the fuck kind of mentality. You guys can go find these on your own. By all means, I highly recommend it. Hopefully I don't get flagged for this, but let's see what happens. I think this counts as fair use. A claim to get the benefits you have earned. It's not just agnostic, it's antagonistic. And I don't mean just about this administration. I'm talking about the process since I got out in the 90s. It has not improved. 30 years, it has not improved. There have been some improvements, like say the PACT Act and a few other things that have made going to the VA easier. But like Pat Ryan was talking about earlier in this segment, that he had not gone to the VA for 10 years. And because John Stewart specifically helped get the PACT Act passed, he started going to the VA again. Truer words have never been spoken. Again, don't like to get political, but this is one aspect that hits very hard and very close to home to me. And that is the fact that politicians, many of whom don't serve in the military, will spend trillions on a war, send us over there. But when it comes to take care of us when we get back, they want to count pennies. And that was never more evident than you saw the 22 push-up challenge that was going on for 22 a day. And that was the amount of veterans who were committing suicide on average per day. Shortly after the Gulf War or the global war on terror and some of the wars that we were fighting at the time. 22 a day. I personally have had multiple people that I've known and have, conversations with, and that I considered friends in various aspects that I've been working in the veteran community, whether it's on bike rides or whether it's on other events, that are not here because of that. Ones that I would never considered would have been struggling mentally so difficult. Spend trillions, pinch pennies. And, you know, there's a quote that, you know, and this is like just those who came home. Those who didn't come home or came home in a flag draped coffin, their families had their own struggles to deal with, besides obviously losing somebody in the family, but getting the same benefits, getting the same things. That's why the organizations like the Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Foreign War, American Legion, these are why these exist. To help people like me, like these two, like any one of us who are veterans, navigate the minefield that is the VA system. So, and I'm not summed it up very beautifully. Now, there's a couple other things, again, not trying to delve too hard into politics in here, but there's a couple other things that comes into, I want to get through towards the end, because he basically says, as Veterans Day, I talk about life in a C-17, which is funny if you're flown one of those. It's a good segment, to be perfectly honest with you. There was something about contracts that are out there for defense contractors. So Krista Luzio is talking about the fact that soldiers and sailors can't fix their gear or improve their gear while on deployment because of these defense contracts. So therefore, they stay down for a long amount of time. This is a problem. It's something that I actually got in trouble for something that I did, for trying to improve things. But you guys already heard that story. You don't need to do more. So I just want to kind of share that with you. For those who are in the U.S. military or have been in the U.S. military and have dealt with the VA, they know what that's like. It is it doesn't matter what administration is in there. It doesn't matter what party is in majority. It does not matter. The VA is critically underfunded, and it seems to be a forgotten part of this. So on Veterans Day, I am saying, do better. Are anyone going to watch this? Hell no. But on the off chance that somebody needs to know a question, protest, write to these two, write to your own congressman, ensure that the VA is funded, ensure that the benefits that they need for veterans, myself included, is there when we need them. That's all I ask. Again, it goes international. Yes, I'm sure other countries have the same thing as well. I'm sure there's some sort of veteran care in throughout the countries in the world. Ensure that they are also funded, because they did something that not a lot of people did. They didn't do it to earn free medical care. They didn't do it to earn subpar medical care. But that medical care is still a benefit that's earned. So because it's earned, it needs to be funded. It needs to be freely given. And it shouldn't be a pain in the ass. But we'll leave that alone for right now. Deployment stories. Here we go. Let me just check something here. Michaela loved the song that I sent her, and thank you for that, Michaela. I'm glad. So let's do a side tangent right here. We share musics and stuff like that all the time, and we share all sorts of just ongoings, because she's a mod on my Discord. She's always pestering me that, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? And there's me saying, hey, could you do this for me? Because I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. That happens a lot. And Joe Black is my other one, who also has to deal with that shit more often than not. So those two are my absolute legends of Discord, who help keep shit in order and do jobs that are thankless and pretty much hopeless by working with me. But at the same time, help the channel grow and help me grow and take something off my plate. So for no other reason than that, I thank both of you for everything that you guys have done for me and continue to do for me. Please don't quit anytime soon. So let's see. Let's go into Camo Roulette, shall we? Let me transition this to get to my other page. So let's see. I meant to have this up, but we had a power outage this afternoon that reset everything, and I couldn't pull up 50 fucking tabs that I needed to. By the way, all you Canadians in the chat, thank you for sending snow down here to New York, you bastards, all of you. So, I need this. I need this. View image. That's not, no, that's not what. Holy Christ. I'm sorry, this has gone downhill very quickly. Let's do this. Let's open this up. Let's open this up. Let's open this up in Photos. Will it open? Yes. Hey, we are grooving. I'm not such a fucking dunce. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I need NASA to send me some tabs. You're absolutely right. Okay. Let's discuss some camo patterns from way back when. There are going to be some ones that are missing on this, but actually, let me pull up one of the worst ones here for a moment here. Now, for those who have been around it, you'll see some, if you live around a military base, you know someone who's been in the military, you may have seen some of these changes. And that's what makes it kind of fun because they've really changed so much and so many times, it's crazy. So let's go into some of the more ones that might be recognizable. And then maybe we'll go into some ones that aren't. So here we go. All right. Welcome to US camo patterns. Now, there are some other ones that are a little different here. So up here in the upper left-hand corner, we have M81, the US woodland pattern. This was the standard from like Vietnam on out. Now, there were some other ones that were used like tiger stripe and stuff like that, but this was the main one that was done. Basically, anything that you bought before 2000 would have been in this pattern kind of mentality. Now, the one next to it we have here is called Flecktarn. Now, Flecktarn is kind of used primarily by Germany and a few other ones in Europe, which is a great pattern. It's actually a very gorgeous pattern. Why the US never went to it, no fucking clue. But it is a great pattern. But here's what we did. So when we went from woodland, we actually jumped up to this thing called, well, let me rephrase. In the Gulf War, when I was serving, we had these down here, which were called the desert BDUs. Let me zoom in down here. We call these, well, we call them the chocolate chip because they're desert pattern. And in the little white dots, there's shadows supposed to make it look like rocks. They look like chocolate chips. Every pattern gets some sort of bullshit derogatory comment name attributed to them. Yes, Charles Arnold. Yes. Prior to woodland, it was OD green, which was just olive drab green. That's it. That was like the Vietnam era and stuff like that too. So that was World War II. That was World War I even was, olive drab. That was the color. Look, I was going to do an MRE roulette and go buy a bunch of MREs and taste them on screen, but I didn't want to subject myself to that. To be perfectly honest with you, I didn't want to throw up. So we get Camo Roulette anyway. So The chocolate chips were atrocious. They were ugly. Now, being on a ship, when you work on the flight deck, you're allowed to wear camo pants. Most people wore woodlands. We had to hook up with some of the Marines on board, so they gave us chocolate chips. We stood out. You're on a gray boat on a flight deck wearing desert camo pants, even though you're in, like, we were in the Gulf. But we thought we were cool. So what can I say? Beyond ugly. But this is the pattern that I said I've kind of grown onto, and actually I have a snowboard jacket with this pattern. Don't know what to tell you. From the desert BDUs, we went to the DCUs, which is the desert combat uniforms. These are what we call tricolors, because they're exactly 3 colors. Basically expands upon from the desert BDU chocolate chips into something a little more synonymous. Now, in the meantime here, let me pull up something here. Something else we had going on is digital desert camo pattern. During the time of the that we had the chocolate chips, we had this, which was the Desert Night camouflage sample. I have no words for what the fuck this is. So the same time you wore chocolate chips during the day, you wore this shit at night. Now, older, not having to wear this shit, it is kind of cool in a way. But it was supposed to be for like IR night goggles and things like that and all sorts of stuff, stupid shit. It is some really funky looking stuff. Unfortunately. So we went to DCUs. From DCUs, we started getting into some of the digital patterns like the UCP. Now, UCP stands for Universal Camo Pattern. Now, here's the funny thing about this. There was an actual study done in the US about urban environments, desert environments, woodland environments, what actual camo pattern works. Something just fell. And they came up with this right here, UCP. This basically made us look like Minecraft. Before there was Minecraft. It was the ugliest fucking thing that you've ever seen. Now, here's the funny part. It didn't blend in with anything. Didn't blend in with urban. That's the closest. About the only thing I've seen it ever blend in for is the Northeast in like the shoulder season, like when the start of winter happens, before there's snow on the ground. That's the only time that has any fucking bearing whatsoever. I wear that when I go paintballing on Thanksgiving. That's it. But you see that in woodland, and it stands out like a sore fucking thumb. Like, I mean, you might as well be wearing safety orange or yellow, because I'm colorblind. If you wore safety orange, I probably still couldn't see you, but that's beside the point. Now, from this pattern, they decided to stick with the digital, and the individual services started kind of going out on their own. And one of the things that started going on their own was the Navy. The Navy had what we called the blueberries. Digital blue uniforms. Now, you're on the ocean, you're on a gray ship, you have camo. Prevents you from maybe seeing how many people are on ship, I guess, from afar, maybe. But here's the problem. If you go overboard in these, what the fuck is going to stand out? Now, the ocean's not always blue, it's kind of greens and stuff like that, but you're on a ship. If you fall overboard, you're wearing these, you're not being found. I'm sorry, let's just call it what it is. Luckily, these had a shelf life of like almost nothing. I think it was a couple of years. That was about it. Hey, Sean Hawkins is here. Yes. Hey, it's nice to see you, bud. We're going over some of the historical camo patterns that were fun to wear. Now, the Marines, not to be outdone, came out with Marpat, which is basically just a there's a desert version and also the woodland version. So kind of like the UCP, the digital thing, but actual works and colors. but it's still digital and it still looks like fucking Minecraft. Now, when the Air Force and the Air Force, after it ditched UCPs, it went to a tiger stripe, but that was short lived because then they adopted the CP multicam, or what's called OCP, or Operational Camo Pattern. It's also called, I believe, the Scorpion Camo Pattern, and that's this one here that they went to. So the Army and the Air Force both use these. The Marines still use these, and well, the Navy uses something similar to the CAD-PAT, which is the Canadian Digital Pattern. They call it the NW Navy Working Uniform Type 2, I think it is. Navy Working Uniform Type 3s. Yes, Type 3s. Here we go. This is what they have now. And there's actual little things in the pattern that dictate that it's Navy versus Marines. I know why I don't understand it, but that's where we're at. So this is Navy now. When I was on a ship, again, we wore coveralls. We wore dungarees, which were pathetic. They're basically jeans. They're bell bottoms. We'll get to the bell bottoms why in a second. With 4 back pockets, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. If you're drunk, you have to remember which side's which, where the button is, so you don't put them on backwards. And we had dungaree shirts. I'm glad they have foregone that uniform and shit-canned it because it was shitty. Now, the amount of uniforms you have is you have a working uniform. That's one. This is specifically in the Navy. Every service is a little different. You have your working whites, which makes us look like ice cream parlor attendants. White shirt, short sleeve, white pants, black shoes, white Dixie cup hat. Then you have your Johnny Cashes or your working blues, which are technically more black. That is a wool blend long sleeve shirt. That is black with a tie, same color. White Dixie cup, black pants. And they've actually got away from those and started going into a black pants with a khaki shirt kind of thing. It's they've changed. Uniforms seem to change every fucking 5 years. It's hard to keep up. It's like its own business. But that's when I was in. Then you also had your dress whites and you had your dress blues. So your dress blues are what we call Cracker Jacks. Your dress whites are what we call fire hazards because they're polyester and melt into your skin when they get too hot and you can burn them while ironing. Key trick. Don't wear them when you're ironing them. But yes, little digital squids embedded in the pattern. See? Sean, you said you didn't get into the fucking rivalry, you bastard, you liar. So that's kind of where things are now. The absolute worst to me was I want to see if I can find the picture. Yeah, here you go. Here's UCP in the desert. Doesn't really work. Let's see. UCP in woodland. Doesn't really work. That's actually the wrong pattern. My bad. I mean, what the fuck are you hiding from with that? This is, yeah. Yeah. And here's the fun part. The boots that you wear with this are sand color boots. I have no idea I mean, there was an actual like multi-million-dollar study done to decide to use this fucking pattern. And it was tested in Maryland, of all places, in an urban environment, of an arid environment, as they called it, I don't know where, and a woodland environment. And they thought, looking at this picture right here, that this counts as camouflage. This is why when you hear us bitch about the military, about hurry up and wait, there you go. That's why. Yes, desk jockeys, absolutely. They wear bell bottoms so you can see them when you can't, so you can hear them as you can't see them in camo. I'll get my coat. No, so the bell-bottom jeans, the reason why you wore those is because if you go overboard, what's the first thing that a fabric does when it gets wet? It shrinks. So you can turn your pants because they shrink and they actually close up the weave when they're wet. You can turn them into a flotation device, and you learn this in boot camp. But if they weren't bell bottoms, you can't pull them off your boots. Now, the first thing you're going to kick off is going to be your boots anyway because they're heavy as fuck. But that's beside the point. If you go overboard, you need something to keep you afloat. So use your pants, use your shirt. You can fill up your shirt, button it all the way up, fill it full of air, it gives you a little flotation. You get your pants, you put your legs around you like a ring, you tie knots in them, capture air, and you can sit for a little while before you got to dunk them again and refill. That's just the way it is. But yeah, that's why that's why most navies have a bell bottom feature, is to be able to pull them over your boots. Otherwise they'll never come off. In Twilight, you could pretty much disappear, so of course they changed it. Yeah, if it's useful, it'll get changed. That's just the way it is. But yeah, that's how shit flies in the military. Yeah, maybe, big fish. Maybe. Like a real long, far distance. But if you curl up into a ball to be made like a rock, how effective are you? So, yeah, that's kind of where things are. So that's kind of a little bit of the digital patterns, or the camo patterns that come in through today. I don't know. To me, the desert midnight ones, I think, are probably the absolute worst, because it just is. I mean, here you go. So here's chocolate chips, here's woodland, here's olive drab, here's desert, I'm sorry, here's desert medium, here's chocolate chips, chocolate chips, chocolate chips. Whoops. Here's woodland. Hello? No, I don't want to magnify, you fucks. Here's woodland, and then that's olive drab. Granted, that was the Middle East in 1991. Then they moved to the DCUs. Sean made a comment earlier on this thing and on my comments, and I happen to agree that some of the best camo out there is the Rhodesian brushstroke. It's obviously very specific to South Africa and the areas that they have. By far one of the coolest patterns we have out there. Not a fan? All right, Sean, which one was your favorites? Actually, so, I mean, we can do which one's favorite, and we can also do which one was the absolute terrible. Of the ones that you guys have seen, UCP has got to be one of the most terrible. But the midnight digital, or the desert nighttime digital, I still have no fucking clue what the hell was going on with those. Like, I don't get this. This does not make sense to me on any realm of certainty. You like the woodland camo? Okay. Inspired by a Hawaiian shirt? Yeah. Yeah, Dougal, exactly. Overcast skies, concrete. Yeah, probably. But the problem is the boots were sand colored, so they were light khaki. You're going to see boots sticking out. Well, what exactly was the M81? Hold on, let me pull that back up here. The M81 was the standard. Shit. I lost my folder. Remember when I said I had three and I shouldn't be able to lose my folders anymore? I did. That's not it. No, that was it. That was it. Here we go. The DPMs are great. I like those. Multicam is actually a great universal pattern that kind of works everywhere. I like that one. The ghillie suit, yeah. The DNC should be called, I spilled stuff on my clothes, Mom. Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. The mirror camo. M82 Woodland, yeah. Okay, so that's what that was this one. This is the M82 Woodland. So, but I mean, just look at the like introductions. This is 1981, right? Then this went to 2004. Then it went to 2009, 2010. And in the middle of those, you also had the tricolors, which were at the time strictly for the Persian Gulf or Middle East, where we were at the time. Oh, this is probably better. Oh, wow. Look, this is everyone's. Hold up. Can I view? Fuck. There we go. Of course, it's a small picture, so it's going to get all fucked up along the way. But like, you know, these are kind of camo patterns that are used throughout the world. And it always find curious. Now, before you start, yes, I'm a colorblind guy talking about camo. I understand that. It's still interesting to me, even though I can't see colors for shit. Sean, was that the olive drab fatigues? Woodland is a choice. Woodland is the classic. Yeah. But like, but here's the funny thing, like every pattern is different. Like the Russians had a very distinctive pattern. Germany had a very distinctive pattern. It was all based on Flecktarn. So they had the Flecktarn desert, the jungle, the woodland, and the urban. The UK had like the brushstroke / tiger stripe kind of mix that was very cool. I dealt with quite a few Brits, and their uniforms always looked a hell of a lot better than ours as far as colors go, and just even cuts wise. But yeah, here's these look like these were some of the Canadian ones. I don't know what the fuck. Oh, those are fashion patterns. Okay, so that probably doesn't count. But yeah, that's kind of like where everything kind of went into and stuff like that. So yeah, eFox, we talked about the UCPs. UCPs have got to be worse. We should use this. I'm afraid to click. Oh. Now, active camo is a different story entirely. We can do the active camo. You at least stand a better chance of not, you know, being found. Not great for hide and seek, but great for you know, when you want to hide in general. So yeah, that's kind of where everything was. Oh, the hex pattern. I didn't see the hex pattern. The French is just white. Oh, come on, Sig. Honestly, does Brits American stuff look cheap? Not gonna lie. You're not wrong. Although I do like the multicam that came out, the newest pattern that is out. I do appreciate that. Yeah, so Dougal, that's actually a good question. The Marines on board had their own camo patterns. So they have their own uniforms. They don't, because they aren't part of ship's crew, they actually do not, their sole responsibility on board ship is security. So they, that's what they do. That's their whole role. So they wore their uniforms. They didn't wear Navy uniforms. Every service wears its own uniform, except there's one exception that I know of. Now, one exception is in the Marine Corps, you do not have hospital corpsmen. You have Navy hospital corpsmen who are combat certified, and they are embedded in Marine units, but they're still a Navy sailor. They wear Navy devices, they have Navy ranks and everything else, but they wear the Marine uniform. So just something that's a little odd and different. The only thing, now here's the thing. So they only wear the working field uniform. When it comes to dress uniforms, they wear the Navy dress uniforms, but they wear the Marine uniform when they're with the Marines. And nobody shoots at Doc. If you shoot at Doc, you're going to find a whole bunch of Marines very pissed off because they can't put on Band-Aids by themselves. They need the Navy to do it for them. So, 79 to 86. Okay, yeah. So you're definitely in the woodland. Oh, you're definitely in the olive drab into Woodland's going to come out till 89, right? Oh, it's not military. It's just cool looking. Okay. Fashion camo worn by the fashion police. Yes. So you don't see them coming. They had to make sure no one was smuggling any crayons. Absolutely true, Nick. Spoken like a true veteran. So here's the funny thing about the inter-service rivalries a bit. Let me transition this back here a little bit. Well, look, a little inception because I went to the wrong screen. So as with most things, you have 5 services in the Navy. Each one thinks they're better than the other. Just the way it is. And there's, generally speaking, quite a bit of sibling rivalry. Mostly just for a reason to give each other shit. If you are a veteran, you know this. If you have veteran in your family, you already know this. If you don't, here's something new. Veterans as a whole are a sarcastic bunch of people. We like to say we run on nicotine, caffeine, and spite. Or hate. Take your pick. And we give each other shit. It's kind of like just like little brother kind of mentality in a way. But like I've seen fights in bars between like Marines and sailors. And as soon as somebody who's not a Marine or sailor tries to jump in the middle of that person gets annihilated because now they'll both team up on them, who isn't one of them, and then go back to fighting amongst themselves. That's just the way it is. It's just how it's always going to be. And then specifically when you have the service academies, which is that's where some of the officers come from. So instead of going to college, you can go to a service academy. West Point, which is not far from me, is the Army one. And Annapolis down in Maryland is the Navy. Then you have Colorado Springs for the Air Force. The Marines go to the Navy one in Annapolis. And Coast Guard is New Jersey, I think. But you go there, you get your college degree. Well, they have football games. So we have the Army-Navy game every year. It's been playing for 107, 110, some ungodly years. That's one of the biggest rivalries in college football. And even though I didn't go to Annapolis, I still talk shit to all the Army people I know because that's what we do. I'm not sarcastic, says Charles Army. Yeah, sure. That's why you're in this. I'm not sarcastic either. This whole channel is nothing but love and hugs and rainbows and unicorn farts and everything else. There's no sarcasm here whatsoever. But yeah, so that was kind of like the Camo Roulette. So again, if you're in the chat, there's 26 people here watching. If you're in the chat, by all means, come on up if you want to come up and tell some stories. I know Charles Arnold was part of the A-10 program. For those who don't know, the A-10 is a great weapon system. It is a basically flying armored tub. And it doesn't so much as fly as, what's the word, Charles, that they use? You don't fly it. There's a specific term they use for like A-10 pilots. You're less of a pilot and more of something else. I forgot what it was. Sean Hawkins says, when I went to school for photography in Denver, our barracks building housed all 5 branches. The weekends were like the movie Road Warrior. Sean, I can agree to that. So where my school was called Corey Station in Pensacola. So Pensacola Naval Air Station, which was down the road. That's where all the pilots learn how to fly and stuff like that. It's also where what we call organized chicken shit or officer candidate school was. And all the cryptologists of all 5 services went to this base. So you could have instructors that were Army, Marines, Navy, who knows? It depends. So my rating was communications. So we are one of 5 branches just within the Navy itself. But then we also had Air Force. Now, here's the funny thing. This base was an old airfield from like World War II. The barracks have been updated in the 80s, sort of. But there was still a hotel there. The Air Force stayed in the hotel, which had their own bathrooms per room. We stayed in barracks, which had, well, for every, call it common room lobby, had 8 rooms of 2 people each with a shared bathroom, showers, and everything else in the middle for all 8 rooms. Now, it wasn't just one bathroom. It was like, multiple stalls and stuff like that, but there's still always a line. The Air Force got to stay in the hotel. So in the morning at like 5 fucking a.m., you'd start hearing the Marines doing their PT running by the barracks, shouting really loud to wake everybody up. At 5:30-ish, you would have the Army going by. And then around 6 o'clock-ish, you'd have the Navy going by. The Air Force, on the other hand, were on the balconies of their hotel, drinking their coffee, waving as we went by. They also got a stipend because living on a Navy base is below Air Force standards. Now, I don't know if that's still the same way now. This was back in the 90s. I'm sure somebody did something about the base, but there was a definite hierarchy in the systems. In fact, most of us joked if we knew what we were getting into, most of us would have joined the Air Force to begin with. Let me get caught up here. So, giddy up, sparkle farts. It's unfornicated time. Should be your new intro. Maybe. It's not a plane. It's a flying weapon system. Absolutely. It's literally a gun with wings is what it is. Because of the janky ejection system, the alternate nickname for the A-10 was the Widowmaker. It had a habit of wrapping the parachute lines around the seat. Yeah. When our unit went to the field, the photo lab had to stay in the guest house to protect the gear. To misquote Douglas Adams, A-10s fly in the same way a brick doesn't. Abso-fucking-lutely. Hold on, this is starting to annoy me. I mean, they're called the Warthog and they're called war pilots, but I thought they were referred to as like stick jockeys or something like that, or something even more more things. Like the thing didn't so much as fly as it was a controlled fall while moving forward. I've heard A-10s firing. You don't forget that noise. No, you don't. It's just Bert. I didn't unroll my shelter half the time I was in the Army. Yeah, I mean, I was in an aircraft carrier, so I had the coffin locker. That was my home. That was the entirety of my home. Here, let's pull up something here real quick. For those who don't know, and if you don't know, I'm sorry. I'm going to share something with you. Let us pause this. Let's unmute it. And let's bring it over. That's right. It could, because it's so powerful, it actually slows the forward momentum down. And they're already at stall speed anyway, so they can put more bullets on. I have talked to many Marines that when they heard A-10s were in the area, when they were in Afghanistan and Iraq, they just started like a smile came across their face because they knew that this armored bathtub with this huge ass gun would come in low and slow and just put huge ass spent uranium bullets on a target and light it up. Sounds like a Monday morning. So those sparks you're seeing from the trees is literally it catching fire. So the other thing that the A-10s had, and Charles, you can tell me if I'm wrong, is they also carried Hellfire missiles, which are anti-armor missiles. The same things that they put on the MQ-9 Reapers now was on the A-10. I don't know. I mean, right now the A-10 is scheduled for or already has been decommissioned, and I hope they don't because I know that's going to be a sad day for a lot of Marines and Army buddies of mine because they love the fact that they have been saved more times than they can count by that fucking plane. Yeah, A-10's engines have about 40K newtons of thrust each, and the recoil from the gun is 45K. Yeah. The A-10 flies better than the shuttle because they did fly like bricks. Yeah. The shuttle was not a brick. It was literally it was worse than a brick. But just the heat on that thing, like the barrel, I can only just imagine. Like, I mean, most planes are not armored, and the A-10 was. Like, that is just baffling to me. It was so, like, it was just like, I forgot some of the interviews I saw with pilots where they said that, like, it was like, yeah, small arms fire doesn't mean a damn thing. But it was built because it was going to be slow, it was going to be low, and it's going to be providing close air support. If you're providing close air support, you're going to be shot at. Yes, highly maneuverable. What I mean it flies like a brick is what I mean is like it is a big, heavy plane. Well, that's not really big, but it's a heavy plane. But it is a very unique plane in its thing. I believe, I mean, it's had so many nicknames from other countries and stuff like that because I think someone called it the Iron Cross at one time because it doesn't have swept wings. It's literally almost, perpendicular to the fuselage. But can eat through a tank, can eat through any sort of anything really. But that sound is one you never, ever forget. Like I've seen flybys of F-18s and F-14s doing like, doing runs with guns and stuff like that. And it's not the same. It's definitely not the same. So real quick. So this is something that, again, anybody wants to come up, drop me a note in Discord so I can see it. I once saw a pilot say that the two most aerodynamically impossible planes he ever flew are the Warthog and the Warrior Typhoon. Yeah, unstable planes are more maneuverable. Like, I mean, without fly-by-wire. So, like we've talked. So here's the funny thing: most planes nowadays are fly-by-wire, right? I want to show you something. You remember when I did the guarding the edge of reason, when we talked about the individual E2 Hawkeyes and the range and stuff like that, and the aircraft carriers. I want to show you what the controls now. I want you to picture, like fighter jets. They have the, you have the stick, you have the throttle, and everything else, and everything is fly by wire, right? Everything is electronically done. The E2 is not. The E2 is hydraulics. Let me show you. The amount that thing is turning, like, I mean, my Jeep turns better than this, but not by much. Needless to say, there's a lot of play in that plane. Yeah, without the computer, it is done. That's everything. That includes the F-22, that includes the F-35, that includes almost everything. I think fly-by-wire became, I think, let's call it standard, I guess, and with the F-16 and F-15, I believe. Because I think the F-14 wasn't quite fly-by-wire. It had fly-by-wire components, but I don't think it was totally fly-by-wire yet. A-10 is hydraulics with a cable backup. There you go. Cable pulley backup. Yeah, Illusion, that's not brakes, though. That's the arresting gear. Because he actually goes to full throttle when he lands on the off chance he misses the arresting gear. New cars are fly-by-wire too. Yeah, true. F-16, not 15. Okay, see, look, I'm mostly right half the time. The F-16 was fly-by-wire. The F-15 was not. So the F-15 and F-14 were similar in that they were had fly-by-wire parts, but still based a lot on hydraulics, correct? Yeah. The only way you know you made it is if it stops. Yeah, it's the arresting gear, catch cable, same thing. I've kind of covered these. If you guys want, I can cover it again, but
this is the world's most expensive cable.
But yeah, like this is the arresting gear here. That's what stops him. I've showed this before, but this gentleman here who was flying this plane, oh, fuck, I'm sorry. Let me transition this so you guys can see what the fuck I was talking about. Here we go. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. That's how you know when it stops you is how you know that you're done, because you go to full throttle when that happens. Now, this plane, I've showed this before, is the E2 Hawkeye. It's a turboprop. It has a big ass radar dome. It is run by hydraulics, as you saw in that cockpit where there's fucking, the yoke going all over the place. When this one landed, it was about 9 years ago now, 10 years ago, the cable snapped right at the very end to where they basically had to continue on with full power from almost the dead stop, go off the waste catapults and climb off the water. And look, it'll speak for itself. And there it goes.
Three
the part
pilots
where it snapped. Here, let me show you right where it snaps. So when he lands, right there is when it snapped. And he pulled it out of the drink and ended up getting, I believe, a Navy Cross for it. Yeah, by sheer fucking miracle. Great pilot. I'll fly with him anywhere. But yeah. You're talking about the F-35, Sean. Yes, Illusion. It's an AWACS plane. So it's a radar plane. That's what keeps the aircraft carriers safe. Let's put it that way. Well, and here's the funny thing. Even F-18s, when they take off, it's almost hands off. It's like it gets thrown off the edge of the deck, and then they do any maneuvers where it's going to be pulling up and to the right or up to the left. Usually it's up to the right or up to the left, depending where they're going and what catapult they were on. But generally it's up to the right if you're off the forward, up to the left if you're on the waist. Well, so Steel City, they actually go, when you land, you're landing at almost full throttle anyway, be on the off chance that you miss or on the off chance that the cable breaks. Cable breaks is like astronomical odds, especially like right at that point. But in case you miss, you have to be able to take off too. So you're not coming in. So you're coming in slow, but as soon as you hit the deck, it's going to be full power and go. Most pilots know whether or not they hit to pick up a cable or not. But you know, there's still some question. But yeah, real quick, throw it in the full throttle and pull up on the stick or pull up on the yoke. And I'm sure both were pulling on the yoke to get it off the waves. But yeah, luckily it has a very long wingspan and was able to generate lift. So yeah, Sean, the bad day is compounded by the fact that it's under tension. So when it snaps, it gets whipped back very quickly, and people can be well, here, you watch. Let me transition this real quick. Watch this guy down here. Watch him jump out of the way, and then watch these guys too. Oops, there we go. I'll back it up. See him run out of the way as soon as it snapped because he's like, I don't want to be anywhere near that. And then they're all going back to basically check to make sure everyone else got out of the way and there's no, nobody was hurt, nobody was, killed or anything like that. So. And Illusion, they do touch and goes as part of the training too, where they'll come down without a hook drop to, just basically get graded on their flight path and stuff like that. That's usually done during what we call boot trainings. Good night, Michaela. Nice to see you. Yeah, it's crazy. Now I worked on the flight deck, so I had to load crypto into the E2 Hawkeyes, the ES3s, the A6B Growlers. That was it. So you had to know what was going on. You had to know what happens when a cable breaks. Where are you supposed to dive? Where are you supposed to get out of the way? How to work around the aircrafts that are moving on the flight deck. I mean, you basically have LaGuardia on 1.5 acres. I mean, it's crazy the amount of stuff that's moving on. Pat in the chat showed up. Hey, Pat, how you doing? Look, no audio problems yet, but I had a video problem. You happy now, Big Fish? Thanks for jinxing me. So, well, thanks for getting in some work, and thanks for showing up and hanging out. I appreciate it, Pat. I came back from Jeremy. I was stationed at Fort Rucker, Alabama. where they train the Army, Air Corps, helicopter pilots. Oh, that should have been fun. So funny part is, and you know, when we talk about some of the debunking that we do, and we talk about conservation and momentum, aircraft carrier moves at 30 knots, right? Let's say it's moving at 15 knots. Helicopters take off from the aircraft carrier all the time. And when it takes off, does it go flying back? No, it's a conservation of momentum. Does it have to push forward a little bit on it? Yes, it does, because of the air resistance and stuff like that. But generally speaking, any plane on emergency manual is going to be a pain in the ass, because I've lost hydraulic steering in my Jeep, and trying to steer a Jeep Wrangler with big ass tires without the assist of hydraulics is the hardest pain in the ass I have ever had. And I can only imagine what that's like for a plane. I would not want to be a part of that. So yeah, if you guys have questions, you got things you want to talk about, just put it in chat. We'll go through there. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was like a little bit about transition talk, what it's like to transition into the military and transition out of the military. Because my daughter asked me an interesting question, like, why do veterans have such a hard time getting jobs when they come out of the military? And it actually had to pause for a second, because I had to think about it, because I'm used to a canned answer of, you know, our skills don't always transition to a civilian world. And it's true, but it's more than that, because part of it is depending on what your age is when you go in. Those are some of your formative years. And when you go in, you're in a very structured environment. And to come out of that structured environment and go into a corporate world, which is not structured, can sometimes be debilitating, for sake of another word. It can be, it's a bit of a culture shock. And, you know, this is before you start considering, you know, in the fact that somebody may have physical disabilities or suffer from things like PTSD or TBI or things like that. But one of the hardest things, and they tried to kind of bridge this gap a little bit with what they call TAPS, which is Transition Assistance Program, is when you get out of the military, you go into like this week-long school classes, so to speak, where they teach you how to write resumes and stuff like that. But one of the things they didn't teach you at the time that I took it was, how do you change our world of acronyms, our world of very specific details, and translate that from military jargon to common language? It's always been very difficult to do. And one of the problems is like, okay, I was a cryptologist in the Navy. I did communications. How do I write that in such a way that would let me stand out from, well, let me put it this way. How do I write that in a way that someone who reads it will understand it, what it means? And it was actually something that I've always been good at, was writing. And I was able to do that. And I started doing it for other people, where I basically take what we call a cut sheet of an MOS or a rating, depending on what service you're in. That's your job. And talk to the person, find out what awards they have and stuff like that, and basically translate that. This is before AI. Since AI has come around, it's been a lot easier for everybody else, and there are services that provide this now. But when I was in, there wasn't, and I was kind of on my own. And that's how I ended up in telecommunications, because I was doing communications, and I just applied it to a different medium. Now, I went from radio and satellite, which is just more radio, to fiber optics and copper. So it was a weird transition, but in my case, I framed it as in, if I can troubleshoot this, I can learn to troubleshoot that, because it's just a different medium. You know, a loss of signal is still a loss of signal. Errors are still errors. All those things still apply. Just the cause of them now is going to be a little bit different. Cryptographically, yeah, exactly. When okay, so let me get caught up on Sean. I was stationed there when they changed from Army to the Army Air Corps. So when they changed over, the first new Army Air Corps pilot was presented his wings by the last pilot to graduate as Army Air Corps. And the older pilot was the younger pilot's son or grandson. I can't remember which. I was a photographer assigned to take photos of the ceremony. That's cool. But that transition is very, very difficult, and it creates problems not only just for getting in the door to get a job or to get interviewed for a job, but also to, like, you have to shift your mind, because depending on what time you went in, I went in at 18. I had jobs and stuff like that, but they're, part-time jobs, minimum wage, working in restaurants, bars, stuff like that. So when I came out of the military, it was like, well, shit, I don't know what corporate world's like. I haven't been there. I don't know what it is. And it's a very rough transition to get in the way. And there are a lot of people who struggle with that transition. So they struggle with getting in the door for an interview. They struggle with being able to communicate in a way that is, I guess, acceptable, you should say, in the corporate world, like, not dropping F-bombs like I do every other word. But just in general, it's a very difficult transition. And there's been some inroads made to help with that transition, but similar to the VA, it's bogged down with underfunding, not enough resources, things like that. I will say, with the adage of AI, having talked to some people who've recently got out, it's made life a lot easier for them, because they can translate, they can mostly translate it, or at least get a bare bones of a translation that they can build from. So that's been helpful. But yeah, the transition into the military was kind of, stark. Most boot camps are between 8 and 10 weeks before you go to some other training, stuff like that. You better learn how to assimilate in 8 weeks, or you're going to be spending a lot longer there. And that's just the way it was. Yeah. So Rob Hoyle, I was a sound ranger. We located artillery with a microphone base and a signaler. Totally useless when I left the Army. Yeah. Some just don't translate. Pure and simple. Now, my family is long line all the way back to the Revolutionary War of serving. So my mom is one of is 7 kids. Most of those kids were in the military or married military. So all my uncles provided me multiple insights on what I should do when I would go in the military. Kind of like parenting, right? You get all the advice you want in parenting. Now, granted, I wanted this advice, though, because I had a very good idea what I was getting into in boot camp. I had a very good idea what I was getting into, what I wanted to do as a job. But the interesting thing was that when I went to what we call MEPS to sign my paperwork to get your job, is they have roles that need to be filled. So if you don't know any better, you could get stuck with whatever job needs to be filled. It's the way it is. Luckily, I scored high enough, and luckily I had a good enough idea of what I wanted to do. The problem is, what I wanted to do required color vision, which I don't exactly have, at least not normal color vision. So I had to translate that into a little bit more of a, well, what else do you got? Which is like the worst thing you got to say to what we call a job classifier. It's going to hand you your job for the next 4 years. So he offered me the job that I ended up taking first. I got lucky. I had a job classifier who was looking out for my best interest. Plus, I don't think he had anybody who could pass the security clearance at that point anyway, so who knows. But when I told him, I'm like, it sounds okay. What else you got? He just looked at me with like a cold stare of like, seriously, you're going to say that? Meanwhile, my recruiter, who's behind me, isn't able to say anything. He's practically like just slammed his coffee mug on the desk and walked away, like in disgust. Like, what the hell is his problem? Job classifier offers me postal clerk. I'm like, well, if I wanted to be a postal worker, why would I join the Navy? That doesn't make sense. They offered me hull technician, which means you're working on the side of the hull, doing a lot of painting, a lot of preservation work. Not what I wanted to do. I wanted a technical job. Since I wasn't going to college, I wanted something that would translate over. And I thought that cryptology would be something that would translate over. And it did to a certain extent, but I could have done better. I really wanted to get into gas turbine engines, but you need normal color vision for that. Couldn't really work on that. Yeah, job classifier is kind of like a guidance counselor. My uncles were my guidance counselor. They're like my one uncle who was still active duty. He had an amazing 30-year career. He started enlisted, became an officer, and basically reached the maximum that he could as what we call a limited duty officer at the time, and retired. But before his retirement, I was still in. So I had to call him before I took any job. My mom made me promise. So he was stood by his phone waiting for me to call. So luckily he was on the East Coast. I was on the West Coast. So I wasn't waking him up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So called him, told him what they were offering. And he's like, yeah, that sounds like a good job for you. I'm like, all right, then I'll take it. But that's where I get. So yeah, that's it. So one of the things that we'll always laugh about is like, well, we'll see you at Applebee's because get a free dinner from Applebee's on Veterans Day, showing a veteran ID card. Yes, very large military family. My grandfather was a tank driver on my mom's side, was a tank driver in World War II. My dad's father was part of the Army Air Corps before it became the Air Force. And that was kind of like the dividing line. Like my dad's side was almost all Army. My mom's side was, with the exception of my grandfather, was like all Navy. So go figure. Makes for interesting, like, family dynamics as far as where I should go. I mean, I tell everybody that the military was more or less our family business. I went into the family business. That's the only way to kind of sum it up. I suffered through ADHD as a kid. I didn't do poorly in school, but I didn't do great in school. I had a B- GPA, like barely, like a 3.0. And that was like barely. And that was actually more of a rounding feature than anything. The other way, I mean, I could have gone to community college and everything else, but I was just to the point of like, I just want to do something besides sit in the classroom. So kind of knew I was going to go in the Navy since I was about 12. It just seemed like the next step, so to speak. I mean, I idolized my uncles and they got to see, they were telling me the stories of all the places they've been and all the different jobs they did. I mean, I had one that was an air traffic controller. I had one that was similar to my job, a cryptologist. I had one that was, he worked on nuclear reactors, not something I can do being colorblind. That's going to end tragically for everybody. I had one that was a navigator. I had one that was an operations specialist. These are all, I had all these different experiences to learn from. So I really knew what I was getting into for boot camp. I really knew what I was getting into for schooling and stuff like that. So it was great for me. Oh, you had a track license, so you could drive a bulldozer. But I can't use a bulldozer. That's a plant license. Totally. Yeah. So there's the military in a sentence for you. For instance, I had a security clearance to handle traffic up to a certain level, but not to read it. But you needed to read it to know how to handle it, to know where it went. Likewise, Rob Hoyle had a track license, which means he could drive a bulldozer, but not technically use the bulldozer. He could drive from point A to point B, but then somebody else would actually have to use it in the aspect of a bulldozer because he wasn't certified. He had a different certification. That's the military for you. Oh, you were born in the Army in Cyprus. Okay. We had no, that was Crete. Sorry. We had a cryptology base in Suda Bay, and I was like, no, that's Crete, not Cyprus. Too many C words. Yeah, exactly. When you come from a military family, you have a pretty good idea. It's mildly entertaining, at the same time a train wreck when you see somebody who has no idea what they're getting into show up to boot camp with like long hair and, they think they have their own preconceived notions of what it's going to be, and none of them are realistic. It's, those are usually generally the fuck ups for the first couple of weeks. And you hope they learn fast because when one fucks up, you all fuck up in the way that's the way boot camp works. If one guy's doing push-ups, you're all doing push-ups. That's why that line is in there about push-ups and fuck-ups. That's just where it is. Exactly, Peter Markley. The great thing about cryptology is, or intelligence as a whole, it's like if you overhear a conversation in a skiff, you didn't overhear it. That's just the way it is. If you weren't part of the conversation, you're privileged to the conversation, but you're not privileged to it. You pretend you didn't hear it. So, it's funny. My aunt was actually born, no, she wasn't born there. Hold on. I'm sorry. I was thinking my dad was actually born in, he was born in the States, but shortly after my grandfather was stationed in Spain. So he spent a lot of his elementary years in Spain, and spoke quite a bit of Spanish, none of which I can repeat because the words I learned from him are not suitable to be repeated. Max would know what they are, but that's about it. But it was the comical thing of like, this is the military brats take a brunt of like the moving and stuff like that, and their parents obviously do too. But they're probably some of the most adjusted and welcoming people I've ever met in my life. Not that I was a military brat, but I lived next to military housing. So when I go over there to go hang out with friends, there could be entirely new families there. And everyone accepts my daughter like it's nothing. Like in 5 minutes, they're all running together like a bicycle gang, running around the neighborhood and playing tag and what else? Preferably not playing tag while on the bikes, but you understand what I mean. We were never here, exactly. Fade into the bush. One skill I did carry over is I can read upside down. Handy when you're in an office facing your boss. Yes, true. And I have two relatives who are air traffic controllers who can write backwards because they're on the other side of the clear pane, writing like all the call signs and stuff like that. So they have to learn to write backwards. Not my thing. I couldn't do that. Yes, Steel City. I'm going to be logging off here in about 15 minutes or so. Excuse me. So I can go eat. I can go probably walk the dog, and I can go hang out with the little one because she's kind of hanging out, listening to the stories. But we're probably just going to do another 15 minutes or so, and then I'll probably sign off so I can get ready for that. For those who don't know, I will be on Tunes tonight. We'll be covering the Shiva experiment. I got to change for that too because I wore my Navy Hawaiian shirt for today. Had all the most important things: a tall ship and rum. And apparently, I have to make a phone call now in a few too. So once that gets done, we'll sort that out. And then I'll be over on Tunes starting at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. We'll be going over that, and I have a little homework to do before I get on the call. I gotta rewatch the stream and do some timestamps and stuff like that. But no, it should be a good one. I don't know what. Hold on a second. Has he already put it out? Oh yeah, look, there I am on the thumbnail. Does he ever put descriptions on here, or is it the same description everything all the time anymore? Yeah. Oh, that's right. He does have a thank you for military service members, and he has a few few things for volunteering or financially giving to organizations. I really should up my game as far as my descriptions go. But yes, backwards and upside down are easy too. Well, and the funny thing is, like, you know, when you start getting noise on the radio links, there'll be garble in a sentence, and you learn real quick, like, no matter how many clean copies you request and stuff like that. So if you're in a shitty zone, you're in a shitty zone, and you're going to get garbled all the way around. So either you got to cut and paste to, you know, figure out what the whole sentence is, and either retype it or cut and paste around it and photocopy it and stuff like that. So generally we just retyped it. But it was one of those, here's all the copies, here's the typed version, this is what we believe it says. If I don't have a clean copy, I got to make do. Sarah Jones can write backwards strangely better with my left hand. I'm slightly ambidextrous, but I'm left-footed and left-eyed. So I was told I probably should be left-handed, but I just copied everybody else. I broke my right arm when I was in high school, and I had to learn to do a lot of things left-handed because it was a serious break. And I was in a cast for longer than 6 to 8 weeks. So I had to either not do homework and fail a class, or you give things orally and stuff like that as far as like your presentations. But the problem I had is that, you know, it doesn't work well with geometry. So I had to learn how to write numbers and things like that and equations left-handed, which progressively got better. And I can still do it to a certain extent. I just can't get that angle right. But I do it well enough to where I can at least tell what I'm saying, at least me. Oh, you can even type backwards. Oh, look at you. Fun fact, I learned from a psycholinguistic professor, conclusions from split brain studies are far less clear for left-handers. That is interesting. So some of the things we're going to cover real quick on the Tunes channel is going to be, we're going to cover my presentation, what it entails. We're going to cover, you know, maybe some of the backlash to it. We're also going to cover the call as its own, as well as, you know, kind of, if you watch the call, some of the things that are there, but you'll also get some input from, you know, Tune and I, as far as different aspects that we were dealing with. The hardest part, I'm used to just monologuing, like just talking and you guys, you know, interacting with chat and stuff like that. Tune's used to that. Put us both on the same panel and we have to like juggle things like that. So that's why I purposely was like, Tune's going to do this, then I'll come in with this, and then together we can do this. So since Tune has had quite a few people on at a time, and I was happy to like interject where necessary, it made it easy for us to talk without having to talk over each other. Bruce Wayne, you missed everything. Not much. We were just going over some military stuff, some Happy Veterans Day, just kind of celebrating those in the U.S. who served in the military and stuff like that. So now here's the funny part is how many of the veterans that are in here in boot camp, we learned to write in printing in all caps. How many of you still do it? Because I do. And the weirdest lesson that I carried over. So in the Navy, I've shown you guys coffin lockers and things like that. Here, I'll bring it up again for those who don't know what I'm talking about. Wow. It's going to be one of those days. Here we go. This is what berthing looks like on a ship. These are coffin lockers. So this is roughly about 6 or 7 inches high and it has segments and stuff like that. So because you have one of these and you have one of those are usually your dress uniforms are hanging up in there, or your civilian clothes are in what we call your stand-up locker, and all your uniforms and stuff like that are in your coffin locker. Your uniforms are folded up in a specific way so as they don't become wrinkled, and they actually reinforce where all the seams or the creases are. Now the funny thing is because you have a very limited space, you have to fold clothes. It's like, it's been studied to fold clothes a certain way to maximize the space based on the ship's lockers. Hi, Graydon. Welcome to the stream. Now the funny thing about folding clothes, I still fold my clothes the same way. It's not that it's particularly useful in a civilian world or with a civilian dresser, but I still fold my clothes the same way, and I don't know why. It's those letters that those lessons that just happen, and you just do it out of muscle memory, and it just keeps going. And like, my daughter's offered to help me fold my clothes. I'm like, I do it a special way. She goes, I'm not learning that. Forget it. Fold your own clothes. Yes, Kira, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of stuff that occurs in the military as far as baggage goes, emotional baggage. The irony part of this is, and this is something I've run into with various groups that I'm in. Every group I've been in has said, if you're having a bad day, call me. Send me a message on Messenger, send me a message on Discord, shoot me a text message, here's my phone number, or just call me. And the thing of it is every one of us does that. And when it comes for the time for us to do that ourselves, to ask for that help, we don't want to be a bother. And I've seen it happen too many times. So we'll tend to suffer in silence under the pretense that we don't want to be a bother. And one of the groups that I'm in, I decided to get away from that and say, you're not asking for help. You're asking for company. Because the idea is get you through the night. Have a few drinks, sit around, tell a few stories, a shoulder to cry on, somebody just to watch over you. When you're fighting those internal demons all night long, when you have company, it makes it a little easier. And when the sun rises, the new day starts, we can get the professional help that you need. And it changes the conversation from needing help to needing company. And it's gone a long way with this group and stuff like that. So it's just now I need company as opposed to anything else. Because it's just the idea of saying that you need help is so difficult, even though you're waiting for someone else to say they need help and you'll drop everything to do it. It is the weirdest backwards thing that goes on in the brain. And I don't know how to fix it. The only way I knew how to fix it was, let's just rebrand it. Let's call it something else. You want company. Sit around, drink some beers, tell some stories. I'll stay up all night. Somebody else will stay up all night with you. Drive 4 hours out of our way. Don't do anything stupid for 4 hours. We'll be there. And that's and to me, that's that's us caring for each other. That's us not pushing the envelope. It's just rebranding it to make it something that it's not, because no one wants to be the one to ask for help, even though we're all waiting for someone to ask for help. It's the weirdest catch-22 I have ever seen and been part of. And luckily, I don't have that many bad days. I don't have the PTSD and the TBIs and the memories, because being on a ship, you have a different environment. The Marines and Army friends of mine that were kicking indoors and riding in Humvees and getting blown up and stuff like that, it's different. I can't necessarily put myself in their shoes. So being sympathetic is difficult because my experience is far different, but I can be empathetic and I can keep them company. And that's kind of how we frame it. Yes, destigmatizing mental health care is a good thing. And that's the other thing too. It's that and this kind of goes back to that whole funding the VA and stuff like that. Like Pat Ryan talked about specifically in his VA, which is also my VA. It's not very big to begin with. I mean, it is a full-blown hospital, but they took out 20 beds for mental health and addiction. That's 20 less people that can be served. Where are they going to go? The gig line, yes. And when you want to rag somebody, especially somebody who's new to the service, you go tell them you want a 100-foot of gig line and watch them get lost. Troops today don't know what a gig line is. All right, for those that don't know, gig line is literally the seam of your shirt, right? So the seam of your shirt, it goes down to the edge of your belt buckle and goes down to your zipper. It has to be a straight line. Any skew on that, unsat. Yeah, Peter, that's more often than not the case. And Rob Hoyle, that's, to be honest, that's where most of the groups I'm on is Facebook. Like I'm a life member of the VFW. I don't belong to a lodge. I don't go to meetings. I don't do any of that stuff. But I am part of a bunch of different groups that we, it's veterans that share a common hobby, share a common goal. We make our own groups. We don't have a national recognition of with pamphlets and all this other stuff. It is literally peer to peer. It is person to person, and it's much more effective. My grandfather was a merchantman, was torpedoed in World War II. He never spoke about it. He bore the pants off you about the time before and after the war, but never during. Yeah, those are usually conversations kept for select few. My stepdad was airborne. He was in Vietnam. They didn't do a lot of jumps in Vietnam because, canopies. He never talked about it. And after my first deployment, came home and we had some drinks and we were up late and just shooting the shit, just, stepfather, stepson kind of mentality. And he started asking about some of the deployment and stuff like that. And I started telling him some of the things that, that we saw and that we did and stuff, and the good, the bad, the ugly. And he started opening up about his and stuff I'd never heard before, even though I've known him 15 years, or actually take it back, knew him 10 years maybe. And we bonded over that. While I was a teenager and before I went to the military, we had a very strained relationship. But it got better once we found something to kind of bond over, and he was able to release some of his pent up anxiety about some of these stories. And he found someone who could understand in me. Not that he didn't think anybody else could understand, but it just has a certain peer-to-peer realm to it. Father was in Special Forces Army Signals, where he was on the front line or behind enemy lines. He went through some hard times before getting higher up. Unfortunately, you can't, until rank has this privilege. No way to put around it. Yeah. Steely Dan said it. Any minor world that breaks apart falls together again. When the demon is at your door in the morning, it won't be there no more. Any major dude will tell you. Yeah. Absolutely true, Sean Hawkins. Very true. Yeah. Never ask a veteran, how many people did you kill? Fuck off. No. What's funny is my daughter brought up a video. This will be the last story before I get ready to kick this off. My daughter was telling me about, she saw this video. She meant to send it to me and has to go find it again. And it was about veterans having conversations, talking about the cards we've gotten while on deployment, during times of, war or police actions, however you want to call it. And that we got from school kids, because school kids would end up writing letters. Those teachers would end up sending them out to different units and stuff like that. And the veterans who are no longer in the service, or maybe are still in the service, you know, because of our dark humor and because of our understanding of where it's coming from, namely elementary school kids, could see the humor, the unintentional humor in some of these cards. And I remember us getting some, and like the sweetest card in like, you know, printing that was obviously like a second grader or something like that, that, you know, said something along the lines of like, be safe, you know, try not to die. It's like, well, yeah, no shit, kid. Appreciate it. Thanks for the heads up. Definitely on the agenda. But like, it's just the absolute sweetest thing. And then, you know, and then obviously you get the care package that either comes from family or somebody else's family or just complete strangers, which includes, you know, things like cookies and Gatorade and shit like that. You're like, hey, cool, sign me up. And it's funny because like, obviously they don't know. And I think that the dark humor, the gallows humor that military people have because of that environment is what makes it funny. And I don't know, maybe I'm just warped. Maybe, but you guys are here because you're here. So you're just as bad as I am. That's all I got to say to that. But yeah, like, you know, I mean, I've had high school kids, like, you know, like when I came back and stuff like that, and I'm doing a presentation, like, oh, how many people did you kid? I was like, I was in the Navy. Like, what makes you think that that's a suitable question to ask anybody? You know, it's like immediate, like dad voice. But at the same time, it's like one of those things of like, you know, there was something I was looking for the other day. It was something that, while I was on Max's stream, we're talking about, you know, some of the debates that were going on and stuff. And again, I don't like to get political on my channel. I will get political on somebody else's channel if that's the topic. But it's engraved on a wall somewhere. I have to find out where it is. But it's something about no one knows the true cost of war except those who have been in it, and those are the ones who strive to not not let it take seat again. Something like that. It's like veterans who have been in a military war zone and seen action of some sort or another, or you know, have seen the byproduct of that, are more apt to become not necessarily pacifists, but like Pat Ryan said, don't give our greatest resource, our young men and women, for something stupid, because it's not us who picks the wars; it's the politicians. And we don't have a chance of telling us where we want to go. We get told where to go. So like asking that kind of a question is just such a dumbass move. And usually it's by some little douchebag kid in high school who thinks he's being cute. But luckily I haven't really had to deal with those kind of people. Go eat your cold food. Yeah. Yeah. You're all warped. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pack up. I will see you guys all on Tunes in about 90-ish minutes, 80-ish minutes. I'm going to go eat, go spend some time with the kiddo, go spend some time with the dog. Graydon, thanks for showing up, by the way. I appreciate you being here, bud. Don't make me give you, put you in a headlock and give you nuggies next time I see you. Don't worry, it's an inside joke, guys. It's not child abuse. Anyway, yeah. I thank you guys for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me on Veterans Day. Thank you for making, for the stories and for being part of this. Greatly appreciate every one of you. As always, we're going to sign off with what's going to be typical from now going on forward. It's going to be stay uncensored, stay unapologetic, and stay unfornicated. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you in a little bit.